Hello, woman of purpose. Today I want to talk to you heart to heart about financial desperation and how the enemy will use that against us and we don't even realize it. Sometimes, as women, um, we come across some financial strain. And so, out of desperation, it causes us to do things that we shouldn't do as children of God. We turn to men for assistance, because when we're going through the season of our lives, a man may come up to us and say, okay, you know, I can help you. I can help you out of your struggles that you're going through. And instead of trusting God to pull us out, we depend on that man to pull us out. And then the next thing you know, we fall into fornication, we fall into adultery. And so the enemy has us where he wants us to. Because remember that these things are sin, is a sin. So, you know, we fall into these things. And I'm talking heart to heart here because we're women. And so, for money or material things, people will do anything, not just women. We do anything to get money, right? To be out of our financial struggles. But it is a plan of the enemy. It is a strategy. The devil has been in this business for long, years upon years, since the beginning of time. So he knows how to get around us. Sometimes we think that we're slicker than the enemy. We're not slicker than him. And I'm not glorifying him in any way. I'm just letting you see him, see how he operates. And so he uses these things and we don't even realize that we are falling right into his trap. It is a trap. So before we stop and say, Lord, I put this financial situation in your hands, and I know that there is nothing impossible for you to do, and I'm trusting in you to take me out. And I'm not trusting in man. I'm trusting in you to pull me out of this. And so the enemy, he uses our financial struggles to get us to worship him. Now, we think that, worshiping the devil, you have to be in some form of occult. And it's not. It's not. That's how we get tricked. And I'm going to show it to you in the book of Matthew, chapter 4. And this is where Jesus was being tempted by the devil after he was fasting for 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. And the devil came at him, and he was very relentless in trying to break down Jesus. And that's what he does to us now. It's the same strategy. He's trying to break us down. So we're going to look at just two parts one part in Matthew chapter 4, two of the verses. And those verses are verses 8 and 9. So I'm going to read those and I'm going to show you how the enemy was using material things to break down Jesus. And he's still doing it now. And it reads, Again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and said unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. He was offering all the material things, said that the glory of them. He wanted to give him all the kingdom of the world and the glory of them. The glory of them is the material things, the beautiful things that is in the world. So we want nice clothes, We want a nice car to drive. We want a nice apartment to live in or a nice house to live in. We want to eat the best food. We want to go to TGIF. We want to go to the best restaurants, and we want to eat the best food. It's the glory of them. We want nice things. We want the material things. And if we can't provide it for ourselves, then here comes somebody who says, I can give you all of this. And then no, we submit to that individual and we fall into fornication and we fall into adultery. Because sometimes our husbands can't meet our needs. So what happened is that we would go after someone who can do that. And I'm not saying that's all women. But some women, I mean, let's be real here. Some women do fall into that trap. And so, this is how the enemy uses that situation to get us to worship him. Because it said in verse 9, and said unto him, all these things will I give thee if thou wilt fall down and worship me. So we fall into his trap right there and we don't even realize it. We begin to worship him. In Romans chapter 6 verse 16, it says that anything that we yield to, we become a servant of it. We begin to worship him. When we worship, there are many ways that we worship the Lord. We worship him in our tithing. We worship him in our obedience. We worship him in singing. We worship him in praise. There's so many things. In dancing, we worship him. Just doing something for him. Cooking for your brothers and sisters is a form of worship. Giving your hand to the poor, it's a form of worship. So the devil, he wants to get the worship as well. So he uses the material things, the things that we can't provide for ourselves, and said we lust after these things. And the devil uses that. And so when we fall into that trap of financial struggles and asking or having someone to pull us out of that, instead of trusting in God, what we're doing right there is that we're worshiping the devil. Because we fall in this trap. Anything that we yield ourselves to, we become a servant of that. We become a servant of anything that we yield to. Just paraphrasing. We become a servant to that. And what we become a servant to is what we worship. So we fall into his trap of getting the financial help from the wrong source. And we begin to worship him and we don't even realize. So people of God, know who we're worshiping here. Know who we're worshiping. Matthew chapter 4, verse 8 to 9 shows us one of the trick of the enemy. It shows us one of that trick. We don't depend, we don't trust in God to give us what we need, but we trust in man to give us what we need. Ask him to help us out of the financial struggle so that we don't fall into the hand of the enemy. Just ask him, and he will help us to get out of that situation. If we don't have a job, ask him to give us a job. Just pray, believe, and trust. Let him give us a job, and let us have something to take on the table. Always, when you sit at a table, bring something to the table. Bring something to the table. Because when we fall into that trap of the enemy to lean on him and the things that he said, the same thing that he offered Christ. He offered him, he showed him the kingdom and said, all of this I will give you, and the glory of it. The material things. So let us be careful, children of God, woman of purpose. Let us be careful how we fall into the enemy's trap and begin to start worshiping him. And we don't know. The Lord said, I'm a jealous God. And we must not put anything before him. No idols. Nothing. And an idol is anything that we put before God. Let's trust in him. Let's trust in him. Just pray fervently. Pray, trust, believe, and rebuke the enemy when he comes, because he uses anyone. He will send anyone into your life to offer you all the glory of the kingdom of this world, just so that he can get us away from the Lord, and we fall into fornication, we fall into adultery, and we're in big problems. So just ponder on these things, and I bless the Lord for you. I'll be praying for you. God bless you. And remember, if you haven't subscribed to my channel as yet, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment down below. God bless you.